The radio transmission came in broken and desperate at 8:47 hours. Charlie 6 to any unit. We are taking precision fire from multiple positions, 3 casualties, can't move, can't get a fix on shooters, they're invisible, they're everywhere. Captain Morrison's voice cracked with stress as another round punched through the wall behind him, missing his head by inches. In the Tactical Operations Center 15 miles away, Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Chen stared at the digital map showing Charlie Company pinned down in a Syrian border town, unable to advance, unable to retreat, bleeding from wounds they couldn't see coming. "Where the hell are these shooters?" she demanded. The intelligence officer pulled up thermal imaging. "Ma'am, we count at least 6 enemy snipers in elevated positions covering the entire intersection. They've got interlocking fields of fire, professional positioning, military-grade optics. They're not ISIS. These are trained professionals. Syrian special forces or Russian contractors, maybe both." Chen's jaw tightened. "Counter-sniper assets? We've got 3 Marine Scout snipers in the area, ma'am, but they've been trying for 40 minutes. These enemy shooters are too good. Every time our guys get a position, they take fire and have to displace. We can't get a beat on them." Another transmission. "Charlie 6. Another man down, leg shot, bleeding bad. We need these snipers eliminated now or we're all dead." Chen looked at the only other person in the room who hadn't spoken yet. Staff Sergeant Brooklyn Howard sat calmly at a corner workstation, studying the tactical feed with the focused intensity of someone reading a map before a pleasant hike. 26 years old, 5'6", compact athletic build, dark hair pulled back in a tight regulation bun, brown eyes that missed nothing, no expression showing the thoughts running behind them. She'd been attached to the TOC as an observer from Special Operations, her actual unit and background classified so heavily that even Chen only knew she was some kind of sniper with a very interesting resume. "Howard," Chen said, "you've been watching. What do you think?" Brooklyn stood, walked to the tactical display, studied it for exactly 8 seconds, then turned to face the colonel. "Ma'am, those enemy snipers are good, well-trained, disciplined, professional. They're using a textbook multi-sniper overwatch pattern, probably trained by Russians, definitely not amateurs." She paused. "But they're not unstoppable. They're just used to fighting people who don't know how to hunt snipers." Chen leaned forward. "Can you stop them?" Brooklyn's expression didn't change. "Yes, ma'am. All 6. Give me 18 minutes. The room went silent. Finally, Chen spoke. 18 minutes? "Staff Sergeant, 3 Marine Scout snipers have been trying for almost an hour. With respect, ma'am, I'm not a Marine Scout sniper." Brooklyn was already moving toward the door. "I need immediate helo transport to Grid November 7-4, rifle and optics from the armory, and direct comms to Charlie 6 so I can coordinate. Clock starts when I'm on the ground." Chen made a decision. "Go. Show me what unstoppable really looks like. Drop a comment and subscribe, because what Staff Sergeant Brooklyn Howard did in the next 18 minutes would become required study at every sniper school in the U.S. military." Staff Sergeant Brooklyn Howard was 26 years old, U.S. Army Special Operations, trained at the Special Operations Target Interdiction Course, SOTIC, the most advanced sniper training program in the American military. 5'6", 135 pounds of precisely conditioned muscle, dark brown hair, brown eyes that could track a target at 1,200 meters through mirage and wind. From Montana originally, she'd grown up hunting with her father, a retired Delta Force operator who'd taught her to shoot before she could ride a bike. What made Brooklyn different from most snipers wasn't just her technical skill, though she'd graduated SOTIC with the highest scores in her class. It was her ability to think like her targets, to understand the tactical psychology of enemy snipers, to get inside their decision-making process and predict their next move before they made it. In 6 years of operations across 3 continents, she'd eliminated 42 high-value targets, all confirmed kills, all at extreme range, most of them enemy snipers or commanders who'd thought they were untouchable. Today, she'd add 6 more. The helicopter touched down on a rooftop 3 blocks from where Charlie Company was pinned. Brooklyn stepped out carrying a modified M110 semi-automatic sniper system with a Schmidt and Bender scope, a suppressor to reduce her signature, and a drag bag containing 200 rounds of 7.62mm match-grade ammunition. She moved to the roof edge, set up a hasty position behind an HVAC unit, and keyed her radio. "Charlie 6, this is Overwatch. I'm on station. Sit rep." Captain Morrison responded immediately. "Overwatch, we have 18 men pinned in 3 buildings around an intersection. We've taken 7 casualties, 3 killed in action, 4 wounded. Enemy snipers have us completely locked down. We can't move without taking fire." "Copy. I need you to mark enemy firing positions every time they shoot. Use smoke if you can see the building, verbal grid if you can't." "Roger. But these guys are ghosts. They shoot and displace. We never see muzzle flash, never get a solid position." Brooklyn was already scanning through her scope. The intersection below was a kill zone, open ground with multiple elevated positions overlooking it. She could see why Charlie Company was trapped. 6 enemy snipers with coordinated fields of fire could dominate this entire area. But she was looking for something specific: patterns. "Charlie 6, next time someone shoots, I need immediate direction. Don't worry about precision, just general area." "Copy." 30 seconds later, a Marine tried to cross an alley. A single shot cracked out. The Marine went down clutching his shoulder. "Northeast sector, 3-story building, top floor." Brooklyn's scope swept to the building. She didn't see the shooter. He was already displaced. But she saw what she was looking for: a broken window that had been intact in her initial scan. The sniper had fired from there, then moved. She marked the position mentally and kept scanning. Over the next 5 minutes, 4 more shots. Each time, Brooklyn tracked the general direction, studied the aftermath, built a mental map of enemy positions. Most countersnipers would try to spot the shooter and engage. Brooklyn was doing something different. She was analyzing the pattern of their coverage, understanding their tactical deployment, figuring out their coordination. After 5 minutes, she had what she needed. "Charlie 6, I have pattern recognition on enemy positions. 6 shooters positioned in buildings creating interlocking fire. They're rotating. One shoots, others cover. Shooter displaces to backup position. Professional tactics, probably Russian trained. Can you engage them?" "Affirmative. I need you to do something for me. In exactly 60 seconds, I need someone to attempt crossing that intersection from Building 2 to Building 3. Just an attempt. Get visible, then get back to cover fast." "You want us to draw fire?" "I want them to reveal themselves. 1 minute." Brooklyn moved to a different position on her rooftop, set up behind a concrete ledge, ranged the distances to 6 buildings she'd identified as probable enemy positions: 680 meters to the northeast building, 720 to the northwest, 640 to the east, 710 to the southeast, 695 to the south, 750 to the west. 60 seconds passed. A Marine burst from Building 2, sprinting toward Building 3. Immediately, 2 shots cracked out, one from the northeast, one from the southeast. The Marine dove for cover, unharmed. Brooklyn's scope was already on the northeast building, 3rd floor, window partially obscured by curtain. She saw the faint outline of movement, someone repositioning after firing. She didn't fire, not yet. She shifted to the southeast building, 2nd floor, window with broken glass. There, movement behind an interior wall, visible only as a shadow. She didn't fire at that one either. Instead, she keyed her radio. "Charlie 6, I have visual on 2 enemy positions. Do not move yet. I need to confirm all 6 before I engage." "Overwatch, we don't have time for—" "Trust me." 3 more minutes. Brooklyn understood something most people didn't. Engaging one sniper would alert the others. She needed to identify all 6 positions before she started shooting, then eliminate them in rapid sequence before they could react and reposition. She studied the tactical situation. 6 enemy snipers, coordinated coverage, professional discipline. They were confident no one could touch them. That confidence was about to be fatal. She initiated the next phase. "Charlie 6, I need suppressive fire on the northeast building, 3rd floor. Spray the windows. Make them think you're trying to hit them. Don't actually expose yourselves. Just shoot from covered positions. Copy. Engaging now. Rifle fire erupted from Charlie Company's positions, rounds sparking off the northeast building. The enemy sniper there would be taking cover, focused on the incoming fire, which meant he wouldn't see Brooklyn. Her scope settled on the third-floor window. She could see the shape behind the wall now, someone crouching, waiting for the suppressive fire to stop. She fired. The suppressed M110 cracked quietly. Through her scope, she saw the impact, center mass. The enemy sniper jerked and fell. 1 down, 5 to go. The other enemy snipers didn't know yet. The suppressed shot, the ongoing noise of Charlie Company's fire, the fact that their comrade was inside a building, they couldn't know he was dead. Brooklyn was already transitioning to her next target. Southeast building, 2nd floor. That sniper would be watching the Marines, looking for someone to expose themselves. She ranged the distance, 710 meters, and settled her crosshairs on the dark window. She waited. Patience was the sniper's greatest weapon. 15 seconds passed. Then she saw it, slight movement as the enemy sniper shifted position, adjusting his aim. She fired. The round crossed 710 meters in less than a second and punched through the window. The shadowy figure collapsed. 2 down, 4 to go. Clock running, 7 minutes elapsed. Now it got harder. The remaining 4 snipers would start to notice their teammates weren't responding on radio. They'd get cautious, suspicious. Brooklyn needed to work faster. Charlie 6, smoke the intersection. Every grenade you've got. Copy. Smoke grenades deployed, white clouds billowing across the open ground. The intersection disappeared into thick fog. The enemy snipers would be trying to see through it, watching for Marines attempting to move under cover of smoke. Brooklyn used the distraction. She moved to the opposite side of her rooftop, set up a new position with a different angle. From here, she had clean sight lines to 3 of the remaining 4 enemy positions. Northwest building, 720 meters. She'd seen muzzle flash from there earlier. Top floor, corner room. Her scope swept the windows. There, curtain moving. Someone inside checking the smoke situation. She fired. The round penetrated the curtain. Behind it, someone fell. 3 down, 3 to go. 10 minutes elapsed. The enemy snipers knew something was wrong now. Their teammates weren't answering radio calls. The tactical situation was changing. Brooklyn saw the next one make a mistake. East building, 640 meters. A figure appeared in a window for just a moment, probably trying to reposition to a different room. Brooklyn was ready. She fired the moment she saw movement. The figure dropped. 4 down, 2 to go. 12 minutes elapsed. The remaining 2 enemy snipers were professional enough to realize they were being hunted. Brooklyn saw them executing textbook counter-sniper procedures, staying away from windows, using interior rooms, trying to break line of sight. But they made a tactical error. They tried to exfiltrate. South building, 695 meters. Brooklyn saw a figure moving rapidly through a hallway, visible through connected windows, someone trying to reach a stairwell to escape. She tracked the movement, led the target, and fired. The figure stumbled and fell in the hallway. 5 down, 1 to go. 14 minutes elapsed. The last sniper was the smartest. West building, 750 meters, the longest shot, the most difficult position. He'd stayed completely hidden, hadn't taken a shot since Brooklyn had started her counter-sniper operation. He was waiting, hoping Brooklyn would think he'd already escaped, would move on and give him a chance to slip away. Brooklyn knew he was still there. She could feel it. A professional sense developed over years of hunting people who were hunting others. She studied the West building through her scope. 4 floors, multiple windows, dozens of possible positions. Finding one person in there who was actively hiding would take time she didn't have. So she didn't try to find him. She made him find her. Charlie 6, I need a distraction. Send someone into the intersection, full run across open ground. Overwatch, that's suicide if there's still a shooter. There is, but he won't shoot your man. He'll be watching for me. Trust me. Silence. Then, moving. A Marine burst from cover and sprinted across the smoke-filled intersection, fully exposed, moving fast. Brooklyn wasn't watching the Marine. She was watching the West building through her scope, scanning windows in a specific pattern, focusing on positions that would have good observation on her rooftop. There. 4th floor, window with a partially open shutter, the faintest glint of light on glass, a rifle scope catching the sun. The enemy sniper was doing exactly what Brooklyn had predicted. He wasn't shooting at the exposed Marine. He was looking for the counter-sniper who'd killed his 5 teammates. He was hunting Brooklyn. She smiled slightly. Amateur mistake. You don't hunt someone who's already hunting you. Her crosshairs settled on the window. 750 meters, longest shot of the engagement upward angle, wind pushing left to right about 8 miles per hour. She adjusted for all variables, found her natural respiratory pause, and squeezed. The M110 fired. Through her scope, she saw the window shatter. The glint disappeared. A moment later, a rifle fell from the window and clattered to the street below. 6 down, 0 to go. 18 minutes, 12 seconds from wheels down to last shot. Brooklyn keyed her radio. Charlie 6, all enemy snipers neutralized. You're clear to move. Confirm by attempting intersection crossing. 30 seconds of silence. Then, a Marine cautiously stepped into the intersection. No shots. He walked all the way across. Still, no shots. Captain Morrison's voice came back, disbelief evident. Overwatch, intersection is clear. No fire. How many did you get? All of them. 6 confirmed. 6 in 18 minutes? How the hell? Pattern recognition, tactical prediction, and patience, Captain. They were good, but they were trained to fight people who react. I hunted them instead. Back at the TOC, Lieutenant Colonel Chen reviewed the helmet cam footage from Charlie Company and the after-action report. 6 enemy snipers, all confirmed killed by precise long-range fire, eliminated in 18 minutes and 12 seconds by a single counter-sniper who'd studied their pattern and systematically taken them apart. Brooklyn sat across from her, cleaning her rifle with the methodical precision of someone who'd done it 10,000 times. Staff Sergeant Howard, Chen said slowly, I've been in the military for 22 years. I've worked with scout snipers, Delta snipers, SEAL snipers. What you just did, I've never seen anything like that. Ma'am, they were well trained but predictable. They used a standard Russian multi-sniper overwatch doctrine, interlocking fields of fire, coordinated coverage, displacement after shots. It's very effective against conventional forces who don't understand the pattern. But you understood it? Yes, ma'am. Because I've studied it. And because I don't think like a Marine Scout sniper or even like most special operations snipers. I think like an enemy sniper. I understand their decision trees, their tactical psychology. Once I see their pattern, I can predict their positions and exploit their coordination against them. Chen pulled up the tactical replay on her screen. Walk me through it. How did you identify all 6 positions so quickly? Brooklyn set down her cleaning rod and came to the screen. First principle. Enemy snipers using coordinated overwatch aren't randomly positioned. They follow a tactical geometry, overlapping fields of fire, mutually supporting positions, escape routes planned. Once I understood they were using this doctrine, I could predict where they'd be positioned based on the terrain. She pointed to the map. 6 shooters covering 1 intersection means they need 3 primary positions with backup positions for each. I identified the 3 buildings that gave them best coverage, northeast, southeast, and west. Then I looked for backup positions within displacement range that gave me northwest, east, and south. But how did you know someone was in each position without seeing them? Process of elimination and pattern confirmation. When I had Charlie 6's men draw fire, I tracked which positions responded. 2 shots meant 2 primary positions activated. The others stayed quiet. Proper discipline. But their silence confirmed they existed, because if there were only 2 snipers, they'd both have fired to maximize suppression. Chen studied the timeline. You killed the first one under suppressive fire. They never knew he was hit. Correct. I needed to eliminate at least 2 before they realized they were being counter-sniped. Once I got the first 2, the others went into defensive mode, which made them predictable. They'd either try to reposition or exfiltrate. I covered both options. The last one was waiting for you. Yes, ma'am. He was the smartest. He understood someone was hunting them and tried to reverse the hunt. But he made a tactical error. He prioritized finding me over maintaining position security. When I gave him a target he thought would draw me out, he couldn't resist trying to spot me. That's when he exposed his position. Chen sat back. 18 minutes, 6 enemy snipers who'd been pinning down an entire company. And you made it look easy. It wasn't easy, ma'am. It was pattern recognition, tactical prediction, and execution. The same process I'd use for any counter-sniper operation. How many times have you done this? Operations like this, I mean. Brooklyn was quiet for a moment. This was my 7th multi-target counter-sniper mission. Previous record was 4 targets in 23 minutes in Afghanistan. Today's 6 in 18 is a personal best. Chen pulled up Brooklyn's classified file, the parts she was cleared to see. Your SOTIC instructors wrote that you have an almost supernatural ability to predict enemy sniper behavior and positioning. Your Delta Force evaluators said you think like the enemy better than anyone they've ever seen. Your last unit commander wrote that you're the most effective counter-sniper asset in the U.S. military. Brooklyn shrugged slightly. I just understand how snipers think, ma'am. Most people don't realize that snipers are very predictable. We're trained to follow specific tactical doctrines, to position ourselves according to specific principles. Once you understand those principles, you can predict behavior. You say, we're trained, like you're one of them. I am one of them, ma'am. I'm a sniper. I just happen to specialize in hunting other snipers. I understand them because I am them. I just think one step further ahead. 3 days later, Brooklyn stood in front of 30 U.S. military snipers at a special operations compound, giving a briefing on counter-sniper tactics. The room was filled with Marine Scout snipers, Army snipers, some Rangers, even a couple of SEALs, all experienced shooters, all here to learn from the woman who'd eliminated 6 enemy snipers in 18 minutes. Counter-sniper operations are fundamentally different from standard sniper missions, she began. When you're hunting regular targets, infantry, commanders, technical operators, you're hunting people who don't know you're there and aren't specifically looking for you. But when you're hunting snipers, you're hunting people who are trained exactly the way you're trained, who understand the same tactical principles you do, and who are actively looking for counter-sniper threats. She clicked to the first slide showing the Syrian intersection. 3 days ago, I engaged 6 enemy snipers who'd been trained by Russian military advisors. They were using a textbook multi-sniper overwatch doctrine that's very effective against conventional forces. Charlie Company had been pinned down for almost an hour, and 3 Marine Scout snipers hadn't been able to get a solid counter-sniper solution. One of the Marines raised his hand. Ma'am, no disrespect, but how did you succeed where 3 experienced Scout snipers couldn't? Good question. The answer is, I used a different methodology. Most counter-sniper operations focus on detection, using optics, thermals, acoustic sensors to spot enemy snipers, then engaging once detected. That works against amateur shooters or lone snipers. But against a coordinated multi-sniper team, detection-based methodology fails because by the time you detect one sniper and engage, the others have detected you and you're taking fire from multiple directions. She clicked to the next slide showing a tactical diagram. My methodology is prediction-based. Instead of trying to spot enemy snipers, I analyze the terrain and the tactical situation to predict where they must be positioned if they're using professional doctrine. I look for the pattern of their coverage. Which areas are they controlling? Which angles are they covering? What fields of fire are they establishing? Once I understand their pattern, I can predict their positions with high accuracy even without seeing them. Another student asked, but how do you know they're using professional doctrine? What if they're just randomly positioned? Then they're not a real threat, Brooklyn answered. Random positioning might get lucky with a few shots, but it can't maintain sustained coverage of a target area. If a sniper team is effectively controlling terrain for an extended period, they're using doctrine, which means they're predictable. She walked through the Syrian operation step by step, explaining how she'd identified the 6 positions through pattern analysis, how she'd confirmed them through controlled provocation, how she'd eliminated them in sequence using psychological prediction about how they'd react. The key insight, she said, is that snipers are trained to think tactically, to make optimal decisions based on battlefield geometry and threat assessment. That training makes us effective, but it also makes us predictable if someone understands the same doctrine and thinks one level deeper. A SEAL sniper raised his hand. "Ma'am, you mentioned you think like an enemy sniper. Can you explain what that means practically?" Brooklyn nodded. "When I'm on a counter-sniper mission, I don't think about where I would shoot from. I think about where my enemy would shoot from based on their training, their culture, their typical tactical preferences. Russian-trained snipers tend to favor elevated positions with good escape routes. They're trained to displace after every shot. Middle Eastern snipers often prefer positions close to their exit routes because they're usually operating in hostile urban terrain where they need quick exfiltration. American-trained snipers typically prioritize optimal range and concealment over escape routes because we're usually operating with fire support available." She clicked to another slide showing different sniper positions. "Understanding these cultural and training differences allows me to predict behavior. When I identified that the Syrian snipers were Russian-trained based on their disciplined fire patterns and coordinated coverage, I immediately knew they'd have backup positions within 50 to 100 meters of their primary positions. They'd prioritize height over concealment, and they'd attempt to displace after the third or fourth shot from any position. That knowledge let me predict their locations and their reactions. The briefing continued for 2 hours. Brooklyn walked them through 5 different counter-sniper operations she'd conducted, explaining the tactical psychology behind each engagement, the pattern recognition that had allowed her to locate enemy snipers, and the prediction-based methodology that made her so effective. At the end, the senior instructor, a veteran Marine Scout sniper with 20 years of experience, approached her. "Staff Sergeant, I've been teaching snipers for 15 years. What you're describing, this prediction-based methodology, this tactical psychology approach, we don't teach this. We teach detection and engagement, but what you're doing is clearly more effective against professional opponents. Would you be willing to help us develop curriculum to teach this?" Brooklyn considered. "I can teach the principles, but I'm not sure everyone can apply them. It requires a specific mindset. You have to be able to think like your enemy, to get inside their decision-making process. That's not a natural skill for most people." "How did you develop it?" "My father, he was Delta Force, spent 20 years hunting people who were hunting Americans. He taught me from a young age that the most dangerous enemies are the ones who can predict your behavior. He trained me to always think 2 steps ahead, to understand not just what I would do, but what my enemy would expect me to do and how to exploit that expectation." The instructor nodded slowly. "That's not standard military training. That's something deeper, almost like a chess grandmaster thinking multiple moves ahead." "That's exactly what it is," Brooklyn agreed. "Chess with rifles, where the pieces are real people and the consequences are real deaths. You have to understand the rules your opponent is following, predict their next 3 moves, and position yourself to exploit the move they don't see coming." 6 months later, Brooklyn was back in the field, this time in Eastern Europe. Russian forces were operating in a contested zone, and their sniper teams were causing significant casualties among NATO forces. Intelligence had identified a particular Russian sniper team that had killed 15 NATO soldiers over the past 2 weeks, a highly skilled group that was becoming a strategic problem. Brooklyn was assigned to find them and eliminate them. She spent 3 days studying their pattern. They operated in pairs, used a rotation system where they'd strike from one area for 2 days, then move to a completely different sector. They favored industrial areas with complex sight lines. They were patient, disciplined, and extremely effective. On the 4th day, Brooklyn predicted where they'd strike next based on the pattern of their previous hits and the tactical geometry of remaining high-value areas. She positioned herself on a rooftop overlooking the predicted zone 12 hours before their expected strike window. At 0640 hours, she spotted them, 2 figures moving into an abandoned factory building 800 meters away. They were being careful, using proper tactical movement, checking for counter-surveillance. but they weren't checking for someone who'd predicted their location 12 hours earlier and had been waiting in position since before dawn. Brooklyn watched them set up their hide, watched them settle in, watched them scan for targets in the NATO-controlled area below. Then she eliminated both of them with 2 shots, 8 seconds apart, before they ever saw her. The operation was so clean, so perfectly executed, that NATO forces didn't even know there had been a counter-sniper mission until Brooklyn filed her after-action report. The Russian sniper team that had killed 15 NATO soldiers was gone, eliminated by a single counter-sniper who'd understood their pattern well enough to be waiting for them before they even arrived. Years later, after Brooklyn had retired from active service and was working as a senior instructor at SOTIC, students would study the Syrian operation, 6 enemy snipers eliminated in 18 minutes, as a textbook example of prediction-based counter-sniper methodology. But Brooklyn would always tell them the same thing. That operation wasn't about being the best shooter or having the best equipment. It was about understanding my enemy better than they understood themselves. The 6 snipers I killed that day were well-trained professionals. They made very few tactical errors, but they made one critical mistake. They assumed no one could think faster than them, predict their positions better than they could hide them, and execute a counter-sniper operation before they could react. She'd pause, making sure every student was listening. They weren't unstoppable. They were just used to fighting people who didn't know how to hunt snipers. The moment they faced someone who understood their doctrine and thought one step ahead of them, their professional training became a liability instead of an asset. They were predictable, and in sniper warfare, predictable is fatal. That was the lesson that mattered. Not the 18 minutes, not the 6 confirmed kills, not the tactical geometry or the pattern recognition. The lesson was that the most dangerous person on the battlefield isn't necessarily the best shooter or the most experienced warrior. Sometimes the most dangerous person is the one who understands you better than you understand yourself, who can predict your next move before you make it, and who's already positioned to exploit the decision you don't even know you're about to make. That's what Brooklyn Howard understood better than almost anyone in the military. That's what made her unstoppable against people who thought they were unstoppable. Because she knew a secret most people never learn. Everyone is predictable if you understand the rules they're following. And once you can predict someone, you can hunt them. The Syrian operation became legend, not because of the speed or the body count, but because Brooklyn had demonstrated something most military tacticians thought impossible, that a single operator with the right mindset could dismantle an entire enemy sniper network before they even knew they were being hunted. Command had called those 6 snipers unstoppable. Intelligence had marked them as high-value targets that would require a full platoon operation to neutralize. 3 experienced Marine Scout snipers had spent an hour trying and failing to get a solution. Brooklyn had studied them for 7 minutes, predicted their positions in 3, and eliminated all 6 in 18. The after-action report was classified and distributed to every Special Operations Sniper unit in the U.S. military. The tactics she'd used, pattern recognition over detection, prediction over reaction, psychological analysis over technical superiority, became foundational principles in advanced counter-sniper training. Her methodology was taught at SOTIC, at Marine Scout Sniper School, at SEAL Sniper courses, even to Allied military forces. But Brooklyn herself remained largely unknown outside classified circles. No medals were publicly awarded. No press releases announced her achievement. She preferred it that way. The quiet professional who'd proven that intelligence and patience could overcome any enemy, no matter how skilled, no matter how coordinated, no matter how unstoppable everyone said they were. Because in the end, the deadliest weapon wasn't the rifle or the scope or even years of training. It was the ability to think one step ahead of someone who thought they were already thinking ahead of you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to hear more powerful stories of brave women in uniform.